There are places that shouldn't exist, yet somehow appear when a person is at their weakest. That's what Riley understood only much later. But on that night, everything started with something much simpler, a sound. A soft, irregular tapping coming from somewhere in the apartment, like someone walking on wooden floors that Riley didn't have. The apartment was small, barely big enough for a bed, a desk, and a kitchen counter. No hallways, no extra rooms, just an open square with two doors, the bathroom and the front entrance. So when the tapping came again, slow, deliberate, as if testing the floorboards, Riley froze. The sound came from the wall next to the wardrobe. Riley put the phone down, the blue glow dimming across the sheets, and sat up. The tapping stopped, replaced by a long, deep creak, like old hinges straining underweight. There were no hinges in that wall. Riley knew that. Had lived here for 2 years. That wall was concrete. So why did it sound like a door opening? The room dimmed, not because the lights changed, but because the shadows in the corners seemed to thicken, pulling the edges of the room inward, as if making space for something that hadn't been there before. Riley slid off the bed and took one slow step toward the wardrobe. The silence was so sharp it felt like pressure on the ears. Then the tapping resumed, not from the wall, from behind it. 3 taps, a pause, 2 taps, another pause, a pattern. Riley shouldn't have responded. Anyone else wouldn't. But fear does strange things to people. It pulls them closer, not farther. Riley lifted their hand and tapped back. 3 taps, a pause, 2 taps. The floor beneath Riley vibrated, soft but noticeable, like someone walking on the other side of the wall. The concrete wall. No, Riley whispered. No, that's not real. But the wall disagreed. A thin hairline crack stretched horizontally at shoulder level, glowing faintly, a cold, bluish-black shimmer, like moonlight passing through water. The crack widened, opening not outward or inward but sideways, sliding apart like curtains being drawn. Behind it, impossible but real, was a corridor. Long, narrow, dimly lit, the walls covered with peeling wallpaper the color of old tea stains. Shadows pulsed gently, as if breathing. Riley stumbled back, heart hammering so hard it was painful. The corridor wasn't just visible, it was there, physically replacing a portion of the apartment. Cold air leaked out of it, carrying a smell like damp earth and something metallic. Then a figure appeared at the far end. Not fully visible, just a silhouette standing still in the dimness. Tall, lean, unmoving, its head tilted slightly, in a disturbingly human gesture of curiosity. "Hello?" Riley called, instantly regretting it. The figure didn't reply, didn't move, but Riley heard something in their mind, a faint pull, a pressure, the way someone might guide your chin upward without touching you, making you look directly at them. Riley blinked. The figure was closer, only a few steps into the corridor now. Riley didn't see it move. It was simply closer. The shadows around it seemed wrong, bending inward like gravity was reversed. Its limbs were too straight, its posture too deliberate. Human-shaped, but not human. Riley stepped back again, but the room behind already felt smaller. The lights flickered, and for a fraction of a second, the corridor's cold glow was the only illumination. Then the figure took a single, unmistakable step forward. Riley ran. Not out of the apartment. The door wouldn't unlock, the deadbolt jamming in place like it had grown roots. Not to the window. The night outside had turned pitch black. Not the usual darkness, but an absence of anything. So Riley backed into the farthest corner of the room, breathing fast, eyes locked on the corridor that shouldn't exist. The figure reached the threshold, its hand pale, grayish, with fingers too long and joints too sharp, appeared first. Then the rest of it leaned forward, head emerging through the tear in the wall. And that's when Riley finally saw its face. Except there wasn't one, just a smooth, featureless surface that reflected the dim apartment. Light like polished bone, but something beneath. That blank surface shifted, like muscles moving under. Skin that didn't belong to them. The featureless head turned toward Riley. And then it spoke, not out loud. Inside Riley's mind. "We found you," corridor contracted violently, as if inhaling, pulling the air from the room with it. The creature stepped through, and the wall split open further. Riley didn't remember falling to the floor, only the cold shock of the laminate against their palms as the creature fully crossed the threshold. The tear in the wall widened with a low, wet grinding sound, as though concrete itself hated being forced apart. The creature's movements were slow, deliberate, almost patient, the way a teacher might approach a child who didn't yet understand a lesson. Its faceless head rotated slightly, and though there were no eyes, Riley felt observed on a level far deeper than sight. The pressure in their skull intensified. A whisper, not exactly a voice but an impression, pressed into Riley's mind. Do not run. Running means you understand. Riley couldn't breathe. Their lungs refused to cooperate, chest tightening like something invisible wrapped fingers around their ribs. The creature tilted its head further, as if studying the physical effects of its presence. Get out, Riley forced out. The sound barely more than a rasp. The creature's body responded with a strange, fluid motion, as if shrugging with bones that weren't entirely solid. We can't. Silence. Not anymore. Behind the creature, the corridor pulsed softly. Shadows shifted like waves of black liquid, and the distant walls seemed to breathe in and out, contracting, expanding, waiting. Riley crawled backward until hitting the far wall. The room felt smaller, narrower. The edges of the furniture blurred slightly, like reality itself was losing focus. The creature took another step. Its foot made no sound. It didn't seem to weigh anything, yet the room vibrated with each movement, like it pressed against the world in ways that weren't physical. What do you want from me? Riley whispered. The creature straightened. Its limbs elongated slightly, the joints stretching with a soft cracking sound. Something beneath its skin rippled, not muscle, but something pretending to be muscle. You called us. No, Riley said immediately. I didn't call anything. You answered. The tapping. The pattern. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Riley's stomach turned. That wasn't a call, they whispered. I was just scared. Curious. I don't know. I wasn't calling anything. The creature's head tilted in the opposite direction now. The movement too smooth, too synchronized, as if its body was imitating human gestures, but didn't fully understand them. Curiosity is a door, it said. Fear is a key. The corridor behind it pulsed again. A gust of cold, damp air pushed into the room. Riley shivered. What's down there? Riley asked, unable to stop themselves. The creature stepped sideways, not walking, but sliding an inch to make space, revealing more of the corridor. The dim yellow lights along the walls flickered, as though reacting to being observed. Not what? The creature corrected. When? The floor beneath Riley vibrated softly, not shaking, humming, low, resonant, growing stronger. The creature turned its blank face toward the corridor, as if listening. They're awake. Riley's skin crawled. Who is they? The creature didn't respond. Instead, it extended a hand. Its fingers were too long, bending unnaturally, but the gesture, the open palm, was unmistakably one of invitation. Riley pressed themselves harder into the wall. No. No way. I'm not going anywhere with you. The creature paused. Then slowly, its hand lowered, folding back to its side with that same liquid motion, like bones sliding through oil. You misunderstand. A pause. You are already going. Riley's breath hitched. The lights in the apartment flickered violently, then went out. For one heartbeat, the world was pitch black. When the lights returned, the room was gone. Riley froze. They were no longer sitting against their familiar white wall, no longer surrounded by the desk, the bed, the shelves, the window. Everything had shifted. The apartment was still there, in pieces. Fragments of furniture suspended in the air, like someone had cut chunks of the room and pasted them unevenly across a darker, larger space. The bed sat 5 meters to the left, warped, and partially sunk into a floor that wasn't their floor. The window hung crookedly, showing not the street outside but a swirling, ink-like darkness with faint moving shapes inside it. Riley pushed themselves onto their feet, trembling. What did you do? The creature stood a few feet away, still facing them, still unmoving. We didn't move you. A faint pulse rolled through the air. Your world moved. Riley swallowed painfully. This isn't real. It is more real than where you came from. Why me? Riley asked, voice cracking. Why my apartment? Why my life? The creature's head shifted slightly. Your world is thin here. Another pulse. You listened, a pause, and we were hungry for a listener. Riley stumbled backward, but the floor behind them felt uneven, soft in places, too firm in others, like stepping on the surface of a dream trying to remember. It's supposed to be solid. The creature extended an arm again, this time not an invitation, a direction, toward the corner. It had grown wider, longer, wallpaper now peeled in long strips that curled toward Riley like fingers. Nitrogen monoxide. Riley said louder, panic rising. I'm not going in there. You can't make me. The creature didn't move, but the corridor did. It stretched, lengthened, pulled. Air rushed past Riley, tugging their clothes, their hair, their breath. The world bent slightly, like space was a sheet being dragged across a table. Riley fought, digging nails into the warped floor, but the pull intensified, steady, heavy, inevitable. The creature didn't move at all. It simply watched. You're choosing the hard way, it said calmly. Riley screamed as the force yanked them across the ground, their hands slipping, tearing against the surface. The corridor opened wider, swallowing light, swallowing sound, swallowing everything that belonged to the normal world. And then the pressure peaked, snapping like a rope pulled too tight. The world flipped, and Riley was dragged into the corridor. Riley hit the ground hard. Not the ground of their apartment, not anything they recognized. The floor beneath them felt like smooth concrete, but warmer, almost pulsing gently under their palms, as if something deep below its surface was breathing. The air was dense, humid, and carried a faint metallic taste that coated Riley's tongue. They pushed themselves up, coughing. The lights overhead flickered weakly, dim yellow bulbs spaced irregularly, some hanging by wires, some embedded directly into the walls like tumors of light. The corridor stretched ahead endlessly. Behind them, nothing. The door, the apartment, the living room, fragments, gone. Only the corridor, only forward. A soft ambient hum filled the air. Not machinery, not electricity. Something alive. Riley forced themselves to breathe slowly in through their nose, out through their mouth, though the air felt thick enough to choke on. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, even though nothing was casting them. They turned. The creature stood at the far end of the corridor, or perhaps much closer. Distance here seemed unstable, depth bending in ways that made Riley's stomach twist. It didn't move, didn't follow. It simply stood there, a silent observer. Why bring me here? Riley shouted, voice trembling. The creature didn't answer. Riley cursed under their breath and began walking. The corridor sloped gently downward, and the air grew colder with every step. Their footsteps echoed faintly, but the echo didn't behave right. Sometimes it came too late, sometimes too early, sometimes from the wrong direction entirely. After maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20, time felt unreliable. Riley noticed the walls changing. Faint writing appeared, etched into the peeling wallpaper, carved through layers of paint. Not words, not symbols, scratch marks, thousands of them, some shallow and nervous, some deep and violent, some trailing off as if whoever had made them was dragged away mid-stroke. Riley swallowed. Something shifted behind the walls, a drag, a shuffle, a soft, slow scrape. Hello, Riley whispered before they could stop themselves. The sound froze. The corridor held its breath. Riley regretted speaking immediately. Then scratch, long, deliberate, directly, behind the wall to their right. Riley backed away, staring at the bulging wallpaper. The scratch moved upward, then slowly across, then downward, tracing the outline of something's movement behind the surface. Too big for a rat, too slow for a person. The bulge stopped. Riley stopped breathing. Then a voice, faint, muffled, trembling, pushed through the wall. Help! Riley nearly collapsed. The voice wasn't monstrous. It wasn't alien. It was human. A woman's voice, weak with exhaustion and terror. "Please," she whispered again, barely audible. "Help me, please." Riley pressed closer, heart pounding. "Who are you? What's happening? How do I get you out?" The wallpaper trembled under their fingertips as the woman spoke again, desperate, frantic. "They hear you. Don't talk. Just," her voice cut off abruptly. A deep rumbling filled the wall. Not movement, breathing. Heavy. Wet. Hungry. Riley staggered back as the bulge on the wall expanded outward, growing larger and larger, pushing the material like something massive was pressing its face against the other side. Then came the sound, a low, growling exhale that vibrated through the floor itself. The woman screamed, a brief, sharp cry that ended too quickly. Riley didn't wait. They ran. Their footsteps echoed erratically, bouncing against the walls in unpredictable patterns. Behind them, the wall shook violently, then fell silent. The corridor twisted, sloping deeper. Riley didn't slow, didn't look back, didn't think. Panic drove them forward, the instinct to survive overpowering everything else. Eventually they collapsed against the wall, lungs burning. The hum in the corridor changed tone, lower, more rhythmic. Riley pushed themselves upright again, realizing they were no longer alone. At the far end of the corridor, something knelt in the center of the floor, human-shaped, human-sized, but unmoving, a person, a mannequin, another creature. As Riley approached cautiously, the figure came into focus, a man sitting with his back against the wall, his head tilted down. A sense of relief washed through Riley. "Hey, are you alive? Can you hear me?" The man didn't respond. Riley got closer, heart pounding. The man was wearing a torn dress shirt, the sleeves ripped, dirt covering his clothes. His hair hung over his face, hiding his expression. Riley knelt a short distance away. "Hey," they said softly. "It's okay. I'm Riley. I'm stuck here too. Maybe we can help each other." Double quotes, nothing. Riley hesitated, then reached forward and gently touched the man's shoulder. The man inhaled sharply. Riley jerked back as the man's head snapped up. His face was pale, eyes sunken, lips cracked, but human, unmistakably human. "You shouldn't touch anything here," he croaked. His voice sounded like it hadn't been used in weeks. "Are you real?" Riley asked. The man laughed, a hollow, painful sound. "Real enough," he whispered. "But if you're smart, you'll stop asking that question." Riley sat beside him, trying to steady their shaking hands. "What is this place?" The man leaned his head back against the wall, eyes unfocused. "They call it a corridor," he said. "But it's not a place. It's a hunger." Riley shivered. "Hunger for what?" The man turned his hollow eyes toward them. "For listeners." A tremor went through Riley's spine. "My name is Jonas," the man continued. "And if you're here, that means they marked you." "Marked me for what?" Jonas swallowed painfully. "For the exchange." Riley shook their head. "I don't understand." Jonas stared into the flickering lights. "You don't need to understand it," he whispered. "You need to survive it." Riley's pulse hammered. "What happens now?" Jonas closed his eyes. "The corridor is about to change." The hum deepened into a bone-shaking thrum. The lights flickered violently. The floor rippled like liquid. Jonas clutched Riley's arm, grip surprisingly strong. "Whatever you see next," he hissed, "don't answer it. Don't speak to it. Don't even look directly at it. If you do..." The corridor went black. Riley felt Jonas's hand slip away, and then a soft tapping echoed in the darkness. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps. Directly behind their head. Darkness swallowed everything, not the absence of light. This was something else. A presence, a weight, a thinking silence pressing against Riley's skull. The tapping came again. 3 taps, a pause, 2 taps. Close enough that Riley felt the vibration against the back of their neck. Riley held their breath, remembering Jonas's warning. "Whatever you see next, don't answer it. Don't look at it." The darkness shifted, not visually but in pressure, like the air leaned in. A whisper followed, soft, intimate, almost gentle. Riley's stomach dropped. The whisper sounded familiar. Not Jonas, not the creature. Something painfully recognizable, a voice they had heard countless times, warm, steady, the voice that always pulled them back from spirals of fear, their sister. But she wasn't here. She couldn't be here. Riley, the voice whispered again, please. I'm scared. Riley clenched their jaw hard enough to ache. It's not her. It's not her. It's not her. The darkness moved, not footsteps, more like the room rearranged itself around the whisper, shifting to bring the sound closer, as if it wanted to press itself directly into Riley's ear. Jonas had warned them, don't answer it. But the voice, the imitation, was perfect. Riley, why won't you help me? A tremor ran through Riley's hands. They stayed silent. The whisper exhaled against their cheek, warm and wrong. Then the tone changed. It sharpened, deepened, curdled. You hear me? The voice hissed. So why don't you answer? Riley dug their nails into their palms until pain grounded them. They didn't speak. A second voice emerged beside the first, then a third, then dozens. Whispers layered, overlapping, calling their name in different tones, pleading, angry, sobbing, laughing quietly. The darkness swarmed with voices that knew Riley's name, Riley's memories, Riley's life. Every voice they'd ever trusted, every voice they'd ever feared. The corridor wasn't empty. It was crowded. Riley felt something brush their arm, not a hand, not skin, something lighter, like a question mark made of air. Jonas had been right. They were listening. The whispers slowed, then unified. Riley, they said together, in dozens of overlapping voices. Look at us. Riley squeezed their eyes shut harder. A cold breath drifted across their forehead. Look. Silence followed, complete, suffocating silence. And then the darkness cracked open. Not a light, not a shape, a door. A thin, faint line of brightness staring down the black fabric of the corridor. The voices hissed at it, recoiling, burning away like steam. Riley didn't move, afraid it was another trick. Then a hand grabbed their wrist, not hostile, urgent. Jonas. Move, Jonas whispered harshly, while they're distracted. Now, Riley stumbled forward as Jonas pulled them toward the thin line of light. The whispers flared angrily behind them, rising like a swarm of bees agitated by smoke, voices layered in chaos. Don't go there, Riley. Wait, they will not follow. Come back. Don't open it. Don't. Jonas shoved Riley through the crack before the whispers finished their sentence. Light swallowed them, sharp, white, painful. For a moment Riley couldn't see anything except static. Then shapes emerged, a room, small, dim, but real. Real in the way walls and floors would be imperfect, and even physical. Jonas slammed the door behind them, throwing his weight against it. Something on the other side scratched furiously, then pounded, then hissed. Back, Jonas gasped. Get back. Riley stumbled away from the door as it bulged inward, then fell still. Jonas slid down to the floor, shaking. They can't enter without permission, he panted. They tried to make you give it. Riley's voice trembled. What were those things? Jonas wiped sweat from his brow. Echoes. They take shapes you trust, or shapes you fear. They learn your voice, your memories. They want one thing from you. What? Recognition, Jonas said. If you answer, you belong to them. Riley wrapped their arms around themselves, trying to stay steady. The room was small, barely larger than a maintenance closet. A single light buzzed overhead. Shelves lined the walls, filled with objects that didn't belong together. A cracked picture frame, a child's shoe, a rusted key, a grocery receipt. Random, meaningless, but somehow meaningful to someone. Jonas watched Riley carefully. You survived your first trial, he said. Most don't. Riley swallowed. First. Jonas nodded slowly. You made the corridor curious. Now it wants more. Riley's voice cracked. Why me? Jonas hesitated, and for the first time, a flicker of fear crossed his face. Because there's something in you it recognizes, he said softly. Something it hasn't seen in a long time. Riley felt their stomach twist. What does that mean? Jonas leaned closer. It means, he whispered, that the corridor didn't take you by accident. It chose you. Riley's pulse hammered violently. Chose me for what? Jonas didn't answer. He stared at the floor, breathing slowly, as if trying to steady his own nerves. Finally, he spoke, voice hollow. "For the final room?" Riley froze. "What's the final room?" Jonas lifted his eyes. "The room that can only open if you open it." Riley took a step back. "I'm not opening anything. You won't have a choice," Jonas said. "When you see it, you'll understand." Before Riley could respond, the light overhead flickered. Then all the shelves in the room shook. Objects rattled. Metal scraped. Something behind the walls groaned. Jonas's face went pale. "No," he whispered. "Not yet. It's too soon." "What's happening?" Riley asked. Jonas grabbed their arm again. "The corridor found you again." A crack formed in the far wall, long, thin, glowing with the same white light as before. Jonas cursed under his breath. "It's opening the next section." "The descent?" Riley backed away. "Descent to where?" Jonas met their eyes, and for the first time, Riley saw the raw terror behind the man's exhaustion. "To the only place worse than the darkness you just survived," he said. The crack widened. Wine poured through it, cold, dry, impossible. Jonas tightened his grip on Riley. "Whatever you do," he whispered, "don't let go of my hand." The wall split open. A staircase spiraled downward into an infinite void. Jonas pulled Riley forward, and together they stepped into the descent. The staircase felt endless. Riley gripped Jonas's hand tightly, knuckles aching, unsure whether the pressure came from fear or from the way the void around them seemed to bend, pulling at their thoughts as much as their body. The steps were narrow, carved from the same strange warm concrete as the corridor above, but now cracked uneven, sinking downward into a blackness so absolute it felt like falling even when standing still. There was no railing, no ceiling, no walls. Just the stairs spiraling through nothing. Riley's breath came slow, shallow. "How far down does this go?" Jonas didn't answer immediately. "Farther than you want," he said eventually. "Not as far as they want." Riley swallowed. The lights above them vanished one by one, absorbed into the dark, until the only illumination came from a faint pulse along the steps, a heartbeat rhythm that didn't match their own. "How do you know this place so well?" Riley asked. Jonas's grip tightened. "I've been here a long time." "How long?" Jonas hesitated. "Long enough to stop counting. Long enough for the corridor to learn me." Riley's stomach twisted. "Learn you?" Jonas kept his eyes fixed downward. "It remembers every fear you bring, every regret, every lie you've told. It feeds on those things, grows stronger. Eventually, it stops needing to imitate anything else. It just uses your own thoughts against you." A cold tremor moved through Riley's chest. "Will it do that to me?" Jonas didn't look back. "It already is." They descended in silence for what felt like hours, maybe days. Time was wrong here. The air grew colder, heavier, pressing down on Riley like a hand over their mouth. Eventually, the stairs ended. They reached a platform, wide, circular, suspended over the void. No walls, just a floor and another door. This one was different from the others. Smooth, black, perfectly rectangular. No handle, no keyhole. Just a single detail, a small indentation at its center, shaped like a human hand. Riley felt their heart drop. Jonas's voice was barely a whisper. "This is it." Riley shook their head immediately. "I'm not touching that." "You don't have a choice," Jonas said. "It won't open for me. It won't open for anyone except the one it chose." Riley stepped back. "Why would it choose me?" Jonas finally turned, and for the first time, Riley saw something beyond exhaustion in his eyes. Guilt. "The corridor listens," he said softly. "It listens before it takes." Something in your voice, something in your fear called to it. Maybe it was the way you try to hold yourself together. Maybe it was the way you break when no one's watching. Riley felt the world tilt. Jonas didn't look away. "Or maybe," he whispered, "it was the thing you're running from." Riley's pulse hammered painfully. "What am I running from? You tell me." Riley opened their mouth, then froze. The platform trembled. The void vibrated. A low, approaching hum filled the air behind them. Jonas's expression darkened. "They're coming," he said. "The echoes." If they reach this platform before you open the door, they'll take you piece by piece. Riley shook their head, backing away. I don't even know what's behind that door. Jonas closed the distance between them, gripping Riley's shoulders. You do, he whispered. You just don't want to. The hum grew louder, whispering voices, hundreds of them, overlapping in a frantic chorus. They were climbing the spiral staircase. Riley's breath fractured. Their name echoed through the void behind them, spoken in dozens of familiar voices. Their mother, their teacher, their childhood friend, the woman who lived down the hall. Their own voice, distorted and trembling. Riley pressed their hands over their ears, but the voices slid through their fingers, seeping directly into their mind. Jonas pulled their hands down. There's no blocking them. There's only going forward. Riley looked at the door, at the hand-shaped indentation, at the perfect, unnatural black surface. It'll kill me, they whispered. No, Jonas said softly. It'll show you. Show me what? What you've been trying not to remember. The voices surged closer, a writhing mass of sound. Riley opened the door. Riley's pulse stuttered. They could feel the echoes reaching the final stairs. Jonas pressed their palm toward the door. You either face what's inside, he whispered, or you become what's behind you. Riley inhaled slowly, then placed their hand against the door. The surface warmed instantly, too warm, then turned ice cold, sending a shock all the way through their arm. The indentation pulled. Not hard, not painfully, but irresistibly. The door split open down the middle, releasing a slow exhale of stale air, as if something inside had been waiting a long time to breathe again. Riley glanced at Jonas. You're coming with me? Jonas shook his head. I've already been through my door, he said. This is yours. Riley took a step back. Jonas, no. Don't leave me with. Jonas placed a hand on their shoulder, steady, warm. You survived the darkness. You didn't answer the whispers. You're stronger than you think. The last of the stairs behind them rattled violently. The echoing voices screeched. Jonas leaned. Close, go, before they take the choice away. Riley stepped through. The door closed behind them. Silence. Room, small, dim, familiar, painfully familiar. Riley knew this place. Not from the corridor, from their life. A bedroom. Their bedroom. From when they were 12. The wallpaper peeling. The old wooden dresser. The lamp with the baseball stitching around the shade. Riley's breath faltered. No, they whispered. Not this. Not again. A voice spoke behind them. Voice Riley hadn't heard in years. You always come back. Here. Riley turned slowly. A man stood near the bed, older, tired, weathered, but unquestionably real. Their father. Riley's body went cold. You're not him, they said. You're not real. The man tilted his head. That's the problem, Riley. You want things to be unreal so you don't have to face them. Riley stepped back. Don't do this. Don't use him against me. I'm not using anything, the man replied softly. I'm what you left unfinished. Riley felt the room tighten round them. The bed creaked. The wallpaper shifted. The air thickened. I don't want this, Riley said. I don't want to relive this. The man stepped forward. But this is why the corridor chose you. Riley's throat closed. The man sat on the edge of the bed, the exact way he used to sit on nights when he'd return home drunk, when Riley would pretend to be asleep, when the house felt like a minefield of unspoken things. You never forgave me, he said quietly. Riley's chest seized. You never gave me a chance to, they whispered. Their father nodded. And you've been carrying that weight. Every day, every year, every breath. It's why the corridor could hear you. Riley's eyes burned. This is a trap, Riley said. You aren't him. No, the man said. But the pain is real. And the hurt is real. And the part of you that hasn't healed is real. Riley shook their head violently. What happens if I don't finish this? If I don't say what the corridor wants me to say? The room flickered, a warning pulse. You stay, the man said simply. You become another voice on the other side of the wall. Riley felt numb. And if I do say it? The man's eyes softened. Then you walk out of here. Riley swallowed hard. You want me to forgive you? No, the man replied gently. I want you to stop drowning yourself with what you never had control over. Riley trembled. The room dimmed. The voices outside the door pounded. Furious. Riley closed their eyes. I'm angry, they whispered. I'm still angry. You're allowed to be, the man said. Riley inhaled shakily. But I'm tired of carrying you with me. The man nodded slowly. Then put me down. Riley exhaled. A long, shaking release of breath. I forgive you, they whispered. The room cracked with light. The man smiled, small, sad, grateful. You always deserved peace. Riley, he said. Go find it. The walls dissolved. The bed vanished. The man faded with the room. Riley stepped forward, not into a corridor, not into darkness, but into clean, cold air. They found themselves standing outside, on a quiet sidewalk, morning light breaking over the city, cars passing, birds calling, the world normal again. The corridor gone. Completely. Riley stood there for a long time, breathing the first honest breath they had taken in years. Behind them, faint and distant, a single whisper echoed, not threatening, not hungry. Just a farewell, Riley. Then silence.